morte sola ti, Signor, a morte sola ti, Signor, a morte sola ti, Signor, e non mirare atrás, segui tu caminar, Signor, segui sin desmayar, Signor, postrado ante tu altar, Signor, y no mirar atrás, seguí tu caminar, Signor, seguí sin desmayar, Signor, postrado ante tu altar, Signor, y no mirar atrás. I love only you, Lord. I love only you, Lord. I love only you, Lord. My heart wants only you to follow in your path, Lord, to follow without fainting, bowing at your throne, Lord, and never looking back, to follow in your path, Lord, to follow without fainting, bowing at your throne, Lord, and never looking back.
Here we are once again, my brothers and sisters, for another Living Hope Today study. And today is a monumental day. We end the book of Ezra today. 10 chapters about the return of the exiles from Babylon to Jerusalem. Okay, well, what can we say except the success of this book, the book of Ezra, is limited. It seems like sometimes they have really good days and they make progress towards the restoration of the temple and the usage of the temple. And then some days they sort of seem to fall back, like it just doesn't work out that the restoration is complete and it's really good. Well, here we go. Watch chapter 10. Look at how this book ends. While Ezra was praying and confessing, weeping and throwing himself down before the house of God. Wait a minute, what's happening to Ezra? Well, Ezra has discovered that many in his company, those who have returned from exile, have fallen into the same hole that they were in for literally centuries. They're practicing the same things that led to the exile itself. They received the wrath of God. Why? Because they intermarried with these pagan cultures and they began to adopt their practices, and they ended up putting themselves in a position of total adultery, spiritual adultery against God. They were committing idolatry all over the place. God finally said, look, you're out of here. The exile happens. Now they're returning, and Ezra finds out there's still some people that are marrying into pagan cultures, and that we're on the same road to destruction that we were on before. Like we didn't learn anything. So here he is. He's throwing himself down. He's weeping. He's praying. He's confessing. He's in front of God's house having a spiritual fit. A large crowd of Israelites, men, women, and children gathered around him, and they too wept bitterly. So they understand the problem. Then here comes a guy named Shechaniah, son of Jehiel, one of the descendants of Elam, said to Ezra, we have been unfaithful to our God by marrying foreign women from the people around us. But in spite of this, there is still hope for Israel. So Shechaniah comes in and identifies the problem, states it out loud, and gives us good reason to see Ezra having such a breakdown over this flagrant disobedience. Now, listen to what Shechaniah proposes. He says, now let us make a covenant before our God to send away all these women and their children in accordance with the counsel of my Lord and of those who fear the commands of our God. Let it be done according to the law. Rise up, this matter is in your hands. We will support you, so take courage and do it. Really, the answer to the problem of intermarriage is to deliver all the foreign wives and the children you've had with those foreign wives. Get them out. Divorce them. Send them away. Well, we know God hates divorce, and one thing you need to understand in this passage is there's nothing that says that the Lord sponsors this, right? It's not like the Lord said do this or the Lord said do that. No, it's not even that the Lord is really consulted in the passage, except for the fact that Ezra is praying. What should we do to rectify the sin we're committing? All right, so there's the idea. And Ezra is encouraged by the leadership to take the idea and run with it. So Ezra rose up and put the leading priests and Levites and all Israel under oath to do what had been suggested. So they took the oath. Okay, so now everybody's going to swear that they're going to get rid of their foreign wives. Think about the heartache and the tragedy of saying to that wife that, you married her under the wrong circumstances. You shouldn't have done it, but now you've established a family with her. Now the children have considered you to be their father, and now your family's going to get ripped apart. Just think of the pain. I mean, one thing this shows us, I know a lot of people have suffered thinking about this, how God can allow this, but one thing we see for sure is the penalty for sin is not just between God and man. The penalty for sin bleeds through to impacting other human beings as well. And we're going to see these particular families impacted greatly. So they swear. Verse 6, then Ezra withdrew from before the house of God and went to the room of Jehohanan, son of Eliashib, where while he was there, he ate no food and drank no water, because he continued to mourn over the unfaithfulness of the exiles. All right, here we go. A proclamation was then issued throughout Judah and Jerusalem for all the exiles to assemble in Jerusalem. Now stop here just for a minute. Remember that the exiles began to return under the rule of Cyrus, king of Persia. More exiles came under the rule of Darius, and still more, Ezra himself returned under the rule of Artaxerxes. So we literally have decades of time that have passed, so that the first exiles that showed up under the rule of Cyrus, they may have intermarried literally decades before. I mean, this These people have been back in the promised land now for a while. All right? So there might be a lot of people that can assemble, as we see in verse 7. In verse 8, anyone who failed to appear, well, first just notice how thorough this return is. All right? All the exiles. Anyone who failed to appear within 3 days would forfeit all his property in accordance with the decisions of the officials and elders. So now we're putting the press on. Everybody has to show up and would himself be expelled from the assembly of the exiles. So to be ostracized and to lose your property is a big deal. They're going to come to this meeting. And they do. Within the 3 days, all the men of Judah and Benjamin had gathered in Jerusalem. And on the 20th day of the 9th month, all the people were sitting in the square before the house of God. They were greatly distressed. Why? Well, because of the occasion, all right? Because we're here to confront our own sin, but also because of the rain. Apparently, the 20th day of the 9th month is in the middle of the rainy season, and everybody's getting wet while these things are coming together. Then Ezra the priest stood up and said to them, "You have been unfaithful. You have married foreign women, adding to Israel's guilt." I can see why he's upset. I mean, we're set to go into exile again. We're making the same mistake that took us away for 70 years. Haven't we learned anything? All right, now make confession to the Lord. So what do we do first? We confess our sin, the God of your fathers, and do his will. Well, now, what's his will? God hates divorce, yes. God has commanded us not to commit idolatry, yes. And God's way of saying don't commit idolatry is don't intermarry with these pagan cultures because you'll adopt their practices. So Ezra says, look, here's what I want you to do. Separate yourselves from the peoples around you and from your foreign wives. In other words, we're going to make a clear distinction between those who follow the God of the Bible, those who follow the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the rest of the pagan world. There is going to be a distinction. The whole assembly responded with a loud voice, "You are right. We must do as you say." So Ezra gets consensus. Everybody agrees. That's what we have to do. But there are many people here, and it is the rainy season. So we cannot stand outside. Besides, this matter cannot be taken care of in a day or two because we have sinned greatly in this thing. In other words, the intermarriage is rampant. Let our officials act for the whole assembly. In other words, we'll take the decision of the leadership. Then let everyone in our towns who has married a foreign woman come at a set time, along with the elders and judges of each town, until the fierce anger of our God in this matter has turned away from us. So the plan is what? Bring everybody in at a set time, at least the ones that have committed these sins by intermarrying. Okay, that's the plan. And as they come in, then we'll deal with each one individually. Well, only Jonathan, son of Asahel, and Jahzeiah, son of Tikva, supported by Meshullam and Shabbatai, the Levite, opposed this. So there are some that said, no, that's not right. We shouldn't do it that way. Notice there's no consultation. God, what do you want us to do? There's simply a decision made. So the exiles did as was proposed. There's opposition, but the plan moves forward. Ezra the priest selected men who were family heads, one from each family division, and all of them designated by name. On the first day of the 10th month, they sat down to investigate the cases. All right, we're going to carry this out. And by the first day of the first month, so we've gone from the 20th day of the 9th month to the first day of the first month. So 3 months have passed or so. All right, they finished dealing with all the men who had married foreign women. So over those 3 months, every situation was confronted and these changes were made. And now we get to a listing. Now, I want to just go through this. I had a little too much time to prepare this, I guess. But I'm interested in understanding how many people are listed as people who committed this sin. You remember that in Ezra, we're told numbers of how many people did come from Babylon through the exile. If you count the 3 journeys, and then the fact that many of the people have been there for decades, so perhaps there are many more Jewish people in the vicinity now that they've settled there for the last several decades. You understand that there's upwards of 50, 60, 70,000 people represented as returnees from the exile and their family members. We've got a ton of people that now live back in the promised land. Okay, well, consider then, I'll just number this out for you, God willing, it works. Look, first we see who came into this sin as a priest. Among the descendants of the priest, the following had married foreign women. From the descendants of Jeshua, son of Jozadak, and his brothers, Mahasiah, Eleazar, Jerib, and Gedaliah. So there's 4 guys from the priesthood. They all gave their hands in pledge to put away their wives for their guilt. They each presented a ram from the flock as a guilt offering. From the descendants of Immer, Hanani and Zebediah. From the descendants of Harim, Mahasiah, Elijah, Shemaiah, Jehaliel, Uzai. So we see that there are plenty of people involved. We're up to 10 so far, 11. Now we go from the descendants of Pashur, Elionai, Masai, Ishmael, Nathaniel, Jozabad, Elisha. From the Levites, Jozabad, Shimei, Kaliah, Pethaliah, Judah, and Eleazar. From the singers, Eliashib. From the gatekeepers, Shalom, Telem, and Uri. All right, 27. Among the other Israelites, from the descendants of Peresh, Ramiah, Izziah, Malkijah, Mijamin, Eleazar, Malkijah, and Benaiah. From the descendants of Elam, Mataniah, Zechariah, Jael, Abi, Jeremoth, and Elijah. From the descendants of Zatu, Elionai, Eliasha, Matahana, Jeremoth, Zabad, and Aziza. What are we looking at? Oh, we're up to 46 guys that are in this situation. From the descendants of Bebai, I'm just not going to read all these out, but I'll just count them out for you. If you read all the names listed here, you're going to see that we get to quite a number. You just have to trust me, or you can count them for yourself. But in the end, by the time you get to the end of verse 31, you've got 67, 68, 69 people that have married foreign wives. Benjamin, Malak, here comes some more. Let me just count them out for you instead of naming them one by one. You can see that we're going into the 80s now. We have a pretty widespread event, except to think that if there are at least 25,000 people, maybe 30, maybe 40, probably more like 50, given the amount of time that has passed, 50,000 people, we're still looking at a super small percentage of the population that has gone into this sin. All right, by the time you get to the end of the chapter, which we're running up to right here, you're at about 111 guys that have done this, that have married foreign wives. All right, all these break their vows with these ladies, all these send them away. Some of them have children. These families are torn apart through the desire to repent But it is a very radical separation. All right? But you see the intent of Ezra. His heart is totally dedicated. Totally. All these had married former women, and some of them had children by these wives. So out of the thousands that are in the land, we have 111 people listed as falling into this sin. They're now separated from their wives, and those that had children are now separated from the children. So that's the end of the book of Ezra. That's it. We're done. We didn't end on a high note, did we? Well, we'll journey into Nehemiah next time to see if anything gets better. What we see is that the flawed Israelites that were sent into exile have come back, and they're still flawed. But we will witness as we move forward that God will still accomplish his purpose, despite how flawed his people are. God bless you, church. Serve him well today.
Who is it who for sinners shed his blood, and now for cleansing all can plunge beneath that flood? It's Jesus. But do you know who he is? He's the image of the invisible God, and he's the brightness of his glory, the first, the last, the future,